present. Welcome back to another episode of ATC Talks. I'm truly delighted to be with you all, my colleagues, and seeing new attendees for today's event. We have an interesting topic today to be delivered by one of the systems architects from Cisco. Before we begin, please do note that we are recording this session and questions may be typed at the QA box after the discussion. Our topic for today is about IoT implementation and security. I am sure most of you here know what IoT stands for. For those who don't, IoT stands for Internet of Things. We are very lucky today as our guest speaker is an expert from Cisco. He joined Cisco in 2015 as a systems engineer in Muscat, providing Cisco technology solutions to selected ministries in the Sultanate. With successful track record, this led him to lead pre-sales activities for ministries and medium to large size businesses, including ISPs. His most recent added role is IoT business development in Oman, where he has worked with key customers and partners to provide Cisco's data centers, security, and smart connected city solutions. Prior to Cisco, he brings 8 years of successful technical management and solution consulting experience.
Meeting is being recorded.
Gained in the information technologies and security fields. He also holds Bachelor of Science in Computers Networks from Napier University, United Kingdom, and an advanced diploma in computer programming from Olympia College, Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Turki Al-Yahmadi. Mr. Turki.
Thank you very much, Mahfouza. Good morning, all. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to you all. So a very big introduction, Mahfouza. That's too much. I guess I'm far away from what you just said.
It's less than what I could find even in LinkedIn. I couldn't make it all here.
Thank you very much, guys. So it's a pleasure, guys, to be here with you today. So as Mahfouza mentioned, we'll be talking about IoT implementation and security today. You know, this topic been very hot in the past 7 years, actually started in 2015. But the story of IoT is much, much older than that. When you look at the history about the concept of IoT, not the title. IoT, maybe the new term who just show up first time in 1999 in one of the researcher papers in the US. But the story is, or the concept of interconnecting technologies, devices, people, machines, was time ago. In some of the research it's been talking about in the 18th century even. There is a talk about discussions about how they interconnect machines. But maybe the scope is changed now. As long as we exposed to the internet in the 80s, 90s, then we are fully exposed to many other technologies day by day now. So I hope you will enjoy the session. I will start to talk about maybe some of the IoT implementations, use cases, then we'll move to some of the challenges, then we'll talk about security as well. All right. So as I mentioned, now I'll just go in a high level of the agenda of today. So why we talk about IoT implementations and how it works, IoT challenges and IoT security. Why we've been starting to talk too much about IoT in the past 7 years? It's more about the numbers you've seen here. Now, when you talk about utilities, electricity and water, there's a high spend in the operation to manage, operate and control utilities. Of overall municipalities bill, they're saying it's almost 40% of the bill, it just, and for the utilities services, mainly electricity and lighting. And from city perspective, parking issues is a big, and we can sense it day to day in our day life. So 30% of the traffic congestion is caused by the drivers circling, trying to find a space. I think we all live that day by day now. environmental issues. Statistically, there are almost $1.7 trillion of economic impact due to the air pollution. So manufacturing and industries, the production lines we have currently has impacted our environment and causing a lot of challenges. There are almost $30 billion annual cost of congestion in the US because of the drivers. Again, because of the hypermobility, the crowd in the cities, there is a huge cost in operation, maintaining, and control. Security, safety is another very hot topic to every government and every enterprise, where huge spend annually is going to just keep the city safe and keep people in a right manner, and also increasing the security and the safety of the city overall. Statistically, in the US, it's almost $3.2 trillion. That is a huge number. It might be never thought in our area as per now, but things are moving to that direction as well. One of the biggest problem also the waste. 60% of the waste being collection is going only in the collection itself from cost perspective. So, and again, I think you guys also seen that just next to your door when those tank goes full and waiting to the truck to come to collect them, the trucks might pass by, not noticing that just the tank got full again. All of those issues has let organizations and governments think about how they could resolve those problems. Now, with the classical systems or networks, it wasn't really easy to have such a system or such a network that adopt and get all those data all together. And there where IoT topics start to come more hot, and to expose in this technology in a different spectrums and different environment. And this is only 6 I'm seeing in you here, but there's many stories in the industrial field. I will go through another cases of oil and gas, healthcare. Then if you think about it, it could be in every single part of our day-to-day life as well. So, and that issue and that challenge has also make a lot of opportunities. And just to share a thought with you here, when we talk about opportunities is here, it's opportunities for 2 sides, for the government, or to even 3 parties: government, enterprise, and people. Now, to develop systems or develop a sensors or to develop a solution help to resolve one of the problem we just highlighted, that will be a kind of new business and opportunity. So there is a huge number of amount of investment happening from all parties to be part of this problem, to find a solution to this problem. Now, from a vendor perspective, like Cisco, Microsoft, Google, everybody is working in here to come up with a solution. And that solution is to resolve the problem, or a single problem of the list I have seen there. And to do that, they're investing a lot in development and research. On the other side, the government having that problem, investing a lot of money to buy solutions or technology. So there are a huge number of participants from all parties to come up with a solution. And again, it's only from government to resolve their problem and get a better lifestyle for the people, and from vendors to make more business. And here where we launch of a big chance for our students, for our graduates, researchers to be part of this as well, to come up with technologies, a software or a sensor or a type of a protocol that can help to interconnect devices or collect more information in a secure manner and get a government or an organization and a data that can help them to resolve one of the problems they have. Now we know that from Cisco perspective, we've been investing in this part hugely. We had to change many of our architectures to adopt these new technologies and also to help to resolve the problem. As I mentioned, use cases is unlimited. Now, this is some of the sectors where oil and gas, for example, where they can adopt IoT. Now, looking at the operation environment of oil and gas and the challenges they face because the location they work on or the issues they're going to face in this industry is huge. Adopting a technology to minimize the time or to increase the productivity or to increase the safety, they are always ready to adopt. And some of these use cases, for example, asset management, asset visibility. There's a huge amount of asset in oil and gas. They need to manage and operate, control. Adding a sensor, adding a token, which is a part of an IoT solution, can really help them a lot to have a visibility over their asset and also maintain it and operate it in a good manner. The other part is about workforce. You know, in oil and gas, the locations is distributed around the country where they have different sites in desert, in sea, in mountains, wherever they work, where they will require a communication system. Classical communication system not always ready to reach to all points. But with the IoT technologies or IoT adoptive technologies can help to have a better communication between the sites and between the people and between the people and the machines they work with. In the industry and safety, having an IoT sensors or cameras like a CCTV or motion detector can really save a people's life and increase the safety level within the operation environment. Another use case is in the healthcare section. Now there's a lot of adoption in here, and mainly now with the current situation of the pandemic, healthcare is one of the sector that highly demanded by the public, very focused by the media, and every single organization working in these system, healthcare systems, want to show the best out of the services. And there where they implement new technologies. And we found out that IoT can play a big role in here. In the what we call telehealth, which is remote visit to the hospital, or the doctor visiting virtually to his patient wherever they are. A video conferencing is one part, but the element around it from IoT perspective, like the pressure measurement, blood test machineries, heat, temperature sensors, other element that the doctor need to use can be backed now in a small package, which can patient have it at home, could be monitored, controlled, and directly share data between the patient wherever they are to the doctors on the hospital, or even to the doctor wherever he are. Talking about smart hospital story. Smart hospital is just one of the small use cases where IoT could be implemented in the hospital management systems, utility management, water flow, electricity management, people, crowd management, availability, appointment, visitors. All of those will adopt kind of sensor, which is part of the IoT, and share that data to a system within the hospital to operate, to give you the best operation and the best experience that any patient could have. Now, I will go more deeply in the smart city and where IoT is implemented in smart city. As we mentioned, in oil and gas, there is many use cases. In healthcare, there's many use cases. But I will go deep in cities, and we'll talk more about how IoT are implemented or resolving a problem in cities. Now we know in cities, there is a big problem also parking and a challenge in parking. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we're living that day to day. Now, maybe just if you cross back to Muscat in any mall to do your Ramadan shopping or your Eid shopping, you will see how hard that you allocate and parking. Now we know that some of those new malls has adopted kind of sensors to monitor their availability of the parking and give you that red green blink about the parking availability. That is one use case of an IoT. But when you talk about a city overall, they will not talk about a single mall or about an open area parking. they will look at the whole city parking, like Muscat municipality, who have to maintain the whole city parking availability and maintain it, operate it, make sure that there is enough parking, and even guide everybody in the city to the right location to save their time, money, and reduce the crowd and pollution. Another challenge in cities, I mentioned there's a big spend in the utilities to maintain and operate a city. And that big part is going in lighting itself. I remember 2 years back, we had a discussion about a bill of a lightning road. It's like 15 kilometers light road with a lightning system, which cost almost up something between 10 to 15,000 riyal in electricity bill perspective. And we were discussing about how we could have a kind of sensors to minimize the uses of light at night and link that to the crowd on the road. So that could minimize the operation cost to the half. And this is another use case of IoT in smart cities. Now, traffic, we talk about parking, but traffic itself is an issue. Every roundabout is crowded. Every traffic light spot is crowded. How are you going to maintain that? Now, using an IoT technologies by linking road sensors, traffic light sensors, roundabout sensors, who can collect data about the number of cars, bicycles, for instance, people walk around it, we can redirect the traffic around the city in a manner that reduces the traffic in a specific point. We know that many people maybe always use a classical way to go to the city center. But we know there is 3 or 4 different routes. How you could redirect the traffic to those 3 routes to minimize the traffic in a single point of time. And that's where we interconnect traffic lights, roundabouts, sensors, and start to give signaling on the road or control the traffic light per manner, redirect traffic to another source or another direction to get them to your destination. Another story in cities is about safety and security, which might be a topic related to any environment. Is it there in the oil and gas? Is it there in healthcare? Is it there in safety and security? If we think about Oman Real Police at point of time and looking how they are maintaining and operating the city, maybe on the lockdown because of the pandemic, or in the events time where there are a lot of crowd, to avoid accidents, to respond to any emergency, and also to make sure that there is no threats to the public. CCTV is one tool. Sensors about people crowd, people movement, traffic crowd is all a lot of data. And with the sensors of IoT, we could collect that data, give it in a single dashboard that ROP can use and have a visibility about the whole city traffic. Excuse me. The whole city traffic. And also response to the emergency was very important. Now linking the influence with an allocation system, giving in one single dashboard to the management of the city, to the hospitals, and reach to the nearest point of support, can be done and implemented through IoT perfectly. Well, back to the topic that we discussed also, in one of the major challenges globally is the waste. How we could implement IoT in waste, and how could waste be managed in a proper way that help us have a better life experience. Now, you could see in those pictures where those tanks are full, and yes, the municipality doing their best to collect, but we know maybe they are going in one static route, which make it longer to reach to the full tanks. They will need to have a visibility over that, and using a sensor to sense out which tank is full and which is empty, then we can redirect the path of the tanks to collect faster. And also, it's not about collection value here. We talk about gas produced by those waste in every single location. We can have a sensors who can sense the oxygen level, CO2, SO2, and other type of gases that we need to maintain and make sure they are in a certain level which is allowed globally and not to harm people's life. Implementing an environmental sensor who can sense gases in the waste locations is very important. And we know that from fact here in Oman, the Ministry of the municipalities are looking at this very intentionally to find out a solution. And we already had a number of pilots with the government in here and some organizations in how we collect the gases levels in every single corner of the city and give the alert to the people in charge to take an immediate action and to find out what is the actual source of these gases. It could be the waste, it could be the cars, it could be something else. And that's what we need to look at, and how that where IoT could help us to collect and take a better decision how to manage our city. Now, I touch upon environment as well, and that is again harming cities big time because of the traffic. And you see if we can get the collected right data about the car movement, people movement, industrial activities from over the city, and interconnect those data all together, we can really take a better decision how we're going to save our environment, how we want to keep our oxygen level to the right percentage, and how we're going to reduce the CO2 production in the whole city. This cannot be done by a single system in one single factory or on a waste management system. It needs to be collaboratively collected from different locations, then analyze the data from different sensors, and then can have a right visibility about the situation, which make us easy to take the right decision. So what we try to do with IoT from vendor perspective, from governmental requirement perspective, that we use the existing maybe type of systems and interconnect them all and add some extra sensors to get us more clear data about the situation and the locations with accurate numbers over all the city, process the data, interconnect the systems all together, and then we can have a better visibility and control over the city to save the environment, to save the people, and have a better lifestyle. So this can create a fully connected community. And this connected community really cannot live without an IoT implementation in different fields. You've seen in the previous slide, I've been talking about cars, waste management, people management, security, traffic light, and environment. If we manage to interconnect those data all together, give it in a centralized location, in a single dashboard to the municipality or to the government or to the city operators, adding the data analytics on top of it, visibility, we can have a better lifestyle, less cost of operation, and save lives. I will pause here for a minute if there is any question. Mahfouz and Ghadir from the attendees.
Mr. Turki, we have agreed that the questions will be at the end of the discussion.
Okay, then a break to have some water.
Yeah, it's all right.
Thank you. So here, what we aiming out? Now, if we look at an architecture of IoT and we see how we really can implement an IoT in a big scale, we'll be looking something like this. You can see the down layer here, where is what I always call is a data collection layer. Where is the sensors? Now, that sensors could be from a car, from a gas station, a watch on in a walker hand, a traffic light, a CCTV, environmental sensor in a waste tank, or a wireless sensor sensing the oxygen level, a mobile phone giving us a data about the movement of the people, a light on the street, or a car in the parking, or a water meter or electricity meter. So there is a big source of data. And that data comes from sensors. Sensors manufacturers are huge. You can have tens of sensor manufacturers around the world. And the issue there, everybody building the sensor for their own system, for all their needs. Where these data, to have a good manner for the city perspective, we need to interconnect them all together. And to have that, we need to have a proper network. And that network could be wired or wireless network. Now, in the IoT, when we're talking about networks, we are not talking about classical network, the wireless Wi-Fi services or the Ethernet connectivity. There are tens of protocols now on the industry to serve that section. Every manufacturing might comes with a standard, with a manner of protocol they're using. Unfortunately, there is no single IoT protocol being defined to make manufacturers follow up that standard and came up with their system. And it's a market challenge. And I don't think we will reach to that in the near future. Still, we have number of protocols used. There are public ones like LoRa protocol for the wireless connection. There is Zigbee, another very public, very common used protocol. Now also with the introduction of 5G, in the introduction of 5G in the market, that also could do a big change. Surely we hope that we reach to a point that we have 2 or 3 protocols as in the market that can be used to interconnect sensors all together and collect the data. Now, that is itself is a challenge. Many manufacturers work with their own sensors in their own systems, in their own network. But from overall city perspective or a manufacturer owner, he needs to have different data from different sources. In the end, he wants to see them in a single location that will make a value for him. There where he can analyze, operate, and take a right decision. And that layer is presented here, the network layer. We call it here digital network architecture, where we could have different source of protocols, interconnect to the network through a wire or a wireless, and share that data to the IoT platform in the orange section here. If we get that data from all different sources, all different sensors, process the data, analyze the data, we can have a better knowledge about how our traffic moving, how our water, parking, lighting, waste, and have a full visibility over the city. If it's a if it is a healthcare system, we could look at a better picture on the hospital itself, or a bigger picture on the school, or a picture on the university. This architecture is fit any type of organization, but surely the city is the biggest one, where you might have factories, schools, universities, markets, and many other things all together in the city. You want to collect the data and show the best use case of an IoT implementation. That data will help the municipality, the city operators, and will help also people. It will help the operators in a way that how we could have a better service, how they could have more parking, how we could redirect the traffic, and how they could collect the waste. Sure, all of these will minimize the operation cost. How the people will get the benefit? The people get the benefit of the data as well, because people will know how to avoid the traffic, will know how to get a faster parking spot, and also they will feel more confident about moving in the city for safety perspective. And to reach to this architecture is not easy. We know there are many vendors on the globe working out to reach to such architecture. There are a very good examples in the market now. For example, I seen one from is a group of projects running, the one in Dubai for the Expo, where they're trying to build the whole Expo city as a smart city implementing IoT. although there are different vendors providing sensors, data, and application, but they could reach to a centralized platform developed by Siemens to give an overall picture about what's going on in the city. So that IoT platform, again, as I said, is not a single vendor or a single product. Every layer I have explained in here have tens of vendors, different protocols, different application, different dashboards. And there where we need to have to break out that, we will have what I call here data collection layer, which is data from devices, where we take all the data from different sensors. And then we classify them per domain. We say this is traffic domain, this is security domain, this is waste management domain. Then we can export the data to the ecosystems. Now, this data is not only used, as I said, for government, for example, in the city, not only used for the municipality, but also the police need this data. The manufacturers need this data. The hospital and clinics need this data. Everybody will have his own need of the data to serve his own business. Maybe a question comes, why a hospital will need this data for? Hospitals sometimes buy these data to identify what kind of sickness might be exposed in the city because of the pollution. Or also to identify where the hotspot of accidents, where they can respond better to any emergency. The business owner, he also needs data to know where our people are crowded the more, so he can have his spot in there, or where he publishes his advertisement. Now, there's a huge opportunities to everybody in the IoT world. And that's why I said again, it's very interested and everybody looking at it. So, how the city will look like? The city will look like this, where data will be shared to the citizens, data will be shared to the city's operator, and data will be shared to the business owners. Everyone will win in this scenario. With a full IoT implementation or a semi-IoT implementation, a big scale in a city, everybody will get a value. And that's why, again, there's a lot of money in here. People investing, people researching, and people developing. Getting our students, maybe in university, to those such topics could open a lot of opportunity of work and huge business chances. In here, I will break out some of those usabilities in the use cases I just mentioned, in the parking, in the lighting, in the environment, and also in the app mobility. So in the parking, for example, we look at the poor parked vehicle. So this is one of the things that causing traffic in the parking, or less, not the best optimization of the parking, because some cars don't park properly. Real-time parking status, occupancy availability, real-time turnover of information, parking guidance, and a long list. From lighting perspective, enhancing the schedule. How we could enhance the schedule? Having a light sensor within the light could really maintain the light operation in the right time. We have seen many times that some light in the half of the day are still on because an issue on the manual switch. But with the IoT sensor, you could have that done automatically. Again, how to identify the fault model. If there is a light went off, how you respond the better when you take a decision to fix it. The utilization of the light per hour. Do you need to on that light at that specific time? If you have a sensor who collects the data about the movement under the light, you can decide you keep the light on or you off it. And that way you can reduce cost. So the lighting control, report on administration, You will have a full report about the light utilization. You just not need to wait for the bill to come, but you will have an aerial data, and with some analytics, machine learning technologies, you can make a better decision when you on and switch off the light. For our environment perspective, we talk about how we're gonna build the country air quality index, which is a global index about how good is the quality in every single city in the world. Remember, you have seen this report in the CNN and BBC. They will show sometimes the quality index of every city in the world. I remember I had a discussion with the Ministry of Environment previously about how we could have a single source of the whole country air quality index, where we can monitor oxygen level, CO2 level, the dust, what we call the visibility on the roads, as well as the pollution level in overall the city or the industrial areas. Okay. There's one project we started here in Oman with a collaboration with Omantel. We had selected COM area, واحد مسقط أو مسقط أسس, to build a semi smart city where we do also air quality management, and we maintain the air quality, monitor the air quality outdoor and indoor, and also that touch up on the parking and the light and the movement and 6 domains. And it's up and running. It was an excellent pilot that shows the value of IoT implementation here in Oman. Also, if we talk about the urban mobility, traffic, vehicle count, we can count the vehicles in the city. We can count the bicycles in the city with using camera and video analytics. Then you can have a huge history of data about the movement of the people and the crowd. In the safety perspective, sure, you can build an alert for accident, automatic alerting about the crowd and injuries, facial recognition, fire, smoke, long queues. With the use of an IoT sensors, we could collect the data and have a better safety and security. Waste, as I said, there is many use cases. Fire alert, bin overfull, bin level monitoring, optimize collection route, reduce operation cost, and many others. For dashboard perspective, the dashboard, when you say dashboard, when you get this data all together in a centralized system, you can really have a single dashboard giving you an overall picture about what is going on within the city. I will show you some of the dashboard in the upcoming slides. Here, I would like also to show you some of the use case of an IoT in a street lighting. We call these kind of light are smart lights, where the light itself has a camera, has a sensor, and has also Wi-Fi services. From the light, we could identify the number of cars pass by, the number of people or bicycles, count them, share the data to the backend system. The cloud here, you see here, this could be the IoT platform. We used to have one called Kinetic in Cisco. The data got collected from one single light pole, connected using an Ethernet cable or a Wi-Fi or a LoRa network, and get video stream, road capacity or road utilization, and the crowd, and also serve a Wi-Fi service to the public. The same data could be collected from a ground sensors, where you put the sensors on the parking spot, which is very common used now in many places here in the country and around the world. Now, what can you do with this data? Again, a huge value. From one single light cubed with an IoT sensors, you will see that you can do light control, emergency energy report, safety and security, instant detection, parking enhancement, parking availability, traffic alert, noise and air quality, is just from implementation of a single spot in a one light pole, cubed with the right IoT equipment, IoT sensors. Look at this picture in here. This is one of the dashboard of an IoT platform that's been implemented in India. It's been implemented in Jaipur in India. It's still up and running, up to date, where you can see an environmental monitoring. Now, this environmental information, it doesn't come from one single sensor or from one single location. It comes from multiple sensors. Those sensors comes from multiple vendors and use different application, but it's been managed to collect the data, process them in the right way, and give you a visibility about what is going on in the city. Now, if you look to the left side, where this red heat map in here, you can know that how much clear is the area. You go to the green area, you know that is more fresh water, fresh air, and less crowd. This comes from traffic monitoring, air quality monitoring, and also people movement. Here also you could have the spot about where incident has happened the most. In the right side, you see how many number of cars pass through in every single day per time slot. How many truck, how many car, and you can add on top of that many. Then you can share these data to the hospitals and also take a data from the hospital and see how much that impact people's health. You can see here, for example, here reporting 32 local cases of asthma. Why did we have a 32 cases of asthma in one single day? It shows in the last 3 minutes. We can see here in the last 3 minutes, there are 3 cases went to the hospital. And if you look at the heat map now over all the city, you can directly assume where those people were. And you can see those red areas, or red zones, are there as a dangerous area for a people who have a breathing issue. And then you can have a better life. Then you can just make a decision how you're gonna manipulate the city or improve the city traffic to minimize that impact. Again, we'll go under the hood, how those stuff works to reach to a such dashboard with so much of information. Here is just a breakdown of the architecture. Again, you will see down in the layer here, the blue circles are the data collection layer, which is coming from sensors. Those data goes to an IoT network built to collect the data, apply some APIs, apply some machine learning and algorithms, compare it to the old data, connect to the city database, city asset, ERP systems, emergency systems, police, asset management, vehicle database, different systems, and you get more data and share also this data to the others. In the right side, you see where we can send the data to. In the left side, who can we export the data to? And in the top layer, you see how the city operators or the business owners could have these data for their own usage by reporting, analytics, building a dashboard, and having a full visibility over the city. These architectures are very minor around the world. You don't have many of such systems can be solid enough to produce an excellent view. There where different vendors are actually collaborating to the maximum to get the best out of the collected data from the sensors. Okay. I'll just go in one use case, taking the flow in here to give you maybe a sense how an emergency response could be faster. I will try to illuminate here so you guys have maybe a clear. Let's assume, guys, if this camera down here collected an incident, the camera take a stream, analyzes, and found out there is 2 cars are crashed. This report will goes out to the city real-time engine, and from here it will know that using API it will go to emergency services directly. In normal manner, it will wait for someone to call and make a phone call to the 999, and 999 need to report to the nearest hospital, or an ambulance need to move. But these happen immediately. This could happen in milliseconds. Instant happened, camera record the session, process it, send an alert, and again, emergency response will directly know the location to reach out to the right place. It will not wait to wait from where the call comes, but you will directly know the location, because that camera, an IoT camera supported with an GPS location details. The same scenario if a waste management tank got full. The waste management sensor itself will announce that to the system. System will export the data to the municipality. I don't have the municipality here, but it could be one of those systems in the list here. It could be directly to the driver, and the driver will have an alert in his dashboard. There is next to you, just the tank got full. You can take an action. When we talk about these, it's very beautiful stories. Everybody like this kind of services to be available, to have a better life and a better response for any incident. But actually, there is so much of challenges. I have mentioned those challenges actually while my talking, but I will emphasize on them here in these 4 points. Excuse me. Now, I mentioned there's vertical integrated sensors, because there is different manufacturers develop different sensors. The manufacturers who produce waste management sensors are not the same ones who do traffic management sensors. And that causing a conflict, because they have a different method of communication and a different standard. That would cause us the other issue, no standardized across sensors. You will have CCTV have their own protocols. Parking sensors are different. Waste management, air quality, people count, car vehicles, everybody have his own manner and own system also. So make a lot of silos. You'll have a very nice parking management system, a very nice waste management system. But if we want to collaborate those together, you will find out so much of issue to make these collaboration and get them data in one single dashboard. There where we need to implement some APIs layer, where take that data, process it in a better way, and get you a better visibility. Now, that also let cross-domain and data information sharing. The domain of waste management cannot share the data with the air quality. Same thing with the parking, the same thing with the crowd management. Every vendor have his own manner, his own way to do those, but then where we'll have to have, again, APIs to have these interconnection altogether. Fragment application ecosystems, which is every single vendor have his own ecosystems around his product. Until today, this is ongoing issue. And I mentioned earlier, don't think in the upcoming 10 years might resolve, but we are in a much, much better way than 5 years back, where we can collect data from different sources, different systems, and build a layer on top of them. And there's always a business, is a building a layer, getting all data from different locations, from different sensors, and have it in a single dashboard with a smart analytics and algorithms help every single unique city with their needs. So 4 challenges, ongoing challenges, a big opportunity for any developer, any interested candidates to be part of this. There is so much of issues, the vendors, governments, manufacturers looking for a solution. So those challenges themselves are opportunities for every one of us in the planet. I will jump with the security section, which is our last topic. It will be very short. but I think this is one of the interesting topics when we talk about IoT. Now, our networks or the internet currently, previously, looks like this. We have business, we have people, employees, we have consumers, and they are using a set of devices. We used to use computers to run business or to do our education, and laptops. Now we're using tabs and we're using phones. All right? Some people still use maybe MP3 players without phones, maybe. But it used to be very minor devices connected to the internet. We started connecting to the internet only using our computers. Then we joined with our phones. And we've been for there till the 2000. But things have changed now. This setup was easy to manage, easy to control, although it has also a lot of challenges and security concerns. Let's see how things look now. Now, things are more bigger. So the Internet of Things is not only computers, tabs, and phones. We're talking about cars, meters, smart watches, keyless, smart glasses, smart fridges, and the list goes on. A huge type of devices will be is already connected to the internet and also growing day by day. And statistics saying there will be more than 50 billion devices, which is like 5 times more than the people on the planet. And also we have another guest. They used to be there, but they are now having a bigger scope or maybe a bigger field for the business. With all those new devices, the risk of security breaches increased. And also those hackers has a better, from their perspective, they have a larger area of their own damage and their own business. And that would make things more complicated with the IoT. Although the challenges I have shared with you about no standards, segment between systems, silos applications, different developers, but also the security concern is one of the biggest. And that what pull many organizations not to move with a full-fledged IoT applications, worried about the security. And they always highlight that in any discussion. You might, in the last 30 years, we reached to a point to understand the behavior of the PC, the laptops, the phones. And we know the application in there, the operating systems. But with the globe, with the IoT, with the Internet of Things and all those type of sensors, we don't know from where the threat will come, because they are different sensors with different applications, with different manufacturers, and we don't understand their behaviors fully. If we had taken 30 years to understand our classical networks, which we still have a problem in, how are we going to work out with these huge growth of so much of different devices? Current networks look like this, very simple. PCs, telephones, CCTV, wired and wireless. And we're still doing that till today. That makes things clear, easy to control, easy to manage. We might have a risk, but we can somehow fix it. But with IoT, it looks like this. You can see the difference. We don't know what's there. When you start to work with IoT and start to get all those sensors on the ground, you will have thousands and hundreds of thousands of them. Interconnect all together in your network, there is a risk of security. There is a risk of data leakage. There is a risk of compromising your security and safety. As much as you want to increase safety, but also there is another risk. You need to make it, work it out and do a lot to make sure whatever you connected to your network is controlled in a proper manner and a proper way. So it's not easy. It's challenging, but we are in a very good progress in how we control and maintain these networks. Some organization decided to segregate IoT networks from the operation networks. but that is very costly as well. You cannot maintain two different networks. And again, you still need to interconnect your IoT data to your operation data. So you have a better decision out of what you're going to do with the data. If you have only IoT data which is not interconnect with the operation data, there will be a break. And that will not help you to have the better visibility or a better optimization or a better cost cutting of your operation. So what we try to do, we have tried to build an umbrella of security that combine your operation environment, classical one, with your computers, with your network, with your phones, and with the data coming from all IoT sensors, and have an umbrella of a security to secure them all together. And to reach to this architecture also is a big challenge. With the simple network, we're still facing issues of hacking and threats. There's a lot of development between the security vendors to improve in that section. And for that, they need to understand the full-fledged of all type of sensors and the behaviors, how those sensors works, how they share data, how we can make sure the data transfer from the sensor is the right data, is not bridged, how we can make sure the data travel from a sensor in the fast corner on the city are not being modified or changed, which will impact the city data or the citizen data or the business overall. All right, guys, that was my last slide. I will keep it in there. I'm almost in 1 hour. I will keep the last upcoming 25 minutes for taking questions. For you, Mahfouza and Ghadir.
Thank you, Mr. Turki, for the very informative information. So far, there is no really much questions. There is no question, but I have a question myself till we get another question from the participant.
Yes.
A while ago, you mentioned the urban services catalog.
Yep.
Okay, so this urban services catalog, does it the government who owns this information, I mean, or the decision to implement IoT in the malls or in your organization, is it the government decision, or and if it's the government decision, how the companies are responding to that? They will share the information collected through these devices, and how also other public can get access to this information.
Yeah, so when we talk about smart city perspective, the government and the city operator need to agree. Interchanging data is a challenge, and we have seen it here on the ground, because some of the traffic and public data is managed by the police. The traffic and the waste management, the lighting, are managed by municipalities. If there is no mutual understanding between these two organizations, or an overall organization who can take a decision about which data to expose, what data to share, they will not reach to any point. And that is another challenge in regulation and data sharing protocols. We know that some organizations are working in a manner that building an index about what data could be shared from which organization. And that will resolve the problem. Then if the Muscat municipality, for example, decided to build a system, they will know which data to share and which data not to share, and when as well. Because, as I said, there's a lot of privacy, there is a lot of other security agencies engaged in here. So if you have to reach to that picture, you need to have an overall rules maintaining data sharing concept, and also maintaining who should access to the data and manipulate the data.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. So means still there are some development to the policies and regulations from the government.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Some countries has reached very far on this. Here in Oman, we know there is a committee now built by the government to build the data privacy index and also data sharing index, which is still in progress. Hopefully, we get that soon published.
Okay, thank you very much, Turki. There is a request from one of the attendees. 1 second. We'll just get more questions.
I think I get one question, Turkish. So there's a question say, don't you think that using so many sensors around are harmful for public health?
Okay, there is different type of sensors. The sensors who can cause harm for the health is more who related to the electromagnetic field that can any single device produce. Now, if you talk about a sensor like a camera, CCTV camera is just taking a picture and snaps. There is no impact about how they to the health. If you're talking about an sensor who do and maybe radio based wave scanning could cause an issue, but also that is very limited to a very small use cases. From the ones we have shared in here, the sensors we are talking about is just collecting data by taking symbols, not by producing any kind of waves or exposing any type of electromagnetic waves to the public. Maybe he referring to the impact of, again, radio to the human. And that can touch maybe in different type of technologies. I know when we talk about wireless and implementing a wireless technologies that will produce more spectrum of waves that in some researchers could be an issue. Unfortunately, we don't have a really solid researchers had shown an impact on that. Maybe in the past 2 years, there is so much of researchers about how 5G might impact human health because of the density of the waves that 5G will use. In IoT is more to the sensor size. Impact is not defined. There is a risk. We might need to do more research on that. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, there is another question from Dr. Catherine. If I want to simulate my IoT project idea, can you tell me where I have to start from the scratch?
To simulate. Now, to simulate, there is different way to simulate. I mean, although IoT looks huge and complicated, but if you go to in a simulation manner, in a small scale, you can do that simply. I know now people do IoT simulation from research perspective using a sensors, very cheap sensors collected in the market, connected to the Raspberry chip, and get that data to a website and show some of an IoT input. I know one startup here in Oman has used the same to do data air quality collection, where they produce a small sensor, okay, connected to a Raspberry. From Raspberry, they take that data to an XML. From XML, they translate the data to an HTML page. And then can they see the temperature, the CO2, the oxygen level. Simulation are very huge surfaces available on that. It could be simple, it could be big. Some vendors are accepting your own produced sensor, and you can inject your data using an XML to them or using an HTTP kind of data sharing with them in an HTML page. So I think there's many ways to do simulation of an IoT. We can maybe have a discussion on how we can help you directly. Maybe Mahfouza, you can take her case in a separate discussion where we see where we can help her how to do her simulation the best. In Cisco, we have our full platform called DevNet. In the DevNet, they have one section for IoT where there's so much of tools are available for simulation. Maybe in our coming event, we'll talk about DevNet and you'll see how you can manipulate that.
Okay, Dr. Tangaval, please reach us for any further support required. There is another question. Is there any other cost-effective substitution instead of IoTs?
Can you repeat the question?
Is there any other cost-effective substitution instead of IoTs? one of the questions, it seems that maybe another option. I guess it means another option than of IoTs.
Now, IoT is the term, as I mentioned. Anything related to a sensor, data collection, data processing, and data presentation, it will come under the umbrella of IoT. That's the current global term used. You can call it a different name. You can have a small system to do a specific use case. But IoT, as I said, is a term. Substitution it, using it with a different, coming up with a different term for a different technology is something is always there. But I said, if something related to a sensor, connection, data, and internet will be called an IoT now. I hope that helped to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Turkey. I cannot see any other question here. No more questions. No more questions.
I think, maybe if you can check the chat, I think there's one question.
No more questions. There is no more questions.
All right. If there is no more questions, I see some hands raised here.
Yeah, there is one more coming just now. Could IoT help tackle the health obesity crisis?
Yes, we have shown you a use case of a health and see how healthcare could implement an IoT kind of scenarios where they increase maybe the response to any healthcare, or even to get more data for a research perspective. And it's been implemented currently. You see that now how Ministry of Health track the movement of the COVID-19 affected people, where they give them that rest token, like a watch on their hand, and that data is collected to their phones, and from their phones, data being gone to a centralized system. Is a real case of an IoT implementation.
IoT can be used in, there is another, IoT platforms can be used in the construction industry.
100%. Yes, and we know now from fact there is some construction organizations are using smart cameras to collect the data from the site, process that data, and giving them an asset movement and safety decision, and also progress perspective. Another thing that they can do in the asset industry, in the construction industry, right? The question was?
Yeah, in the construction industry, correct.
Yes. In the construction industry also, they do IoT to monitor the movement of the trucks who are coming with their materials. For example, you need to see how many trucks reach to the site in the right time. It's just collecting data from a camera or a sensor on the site, sending that data, process it, get you an visibility. Health and safety is another use case on the construction side.
Yeah, with health and safety, I wonder if they can use, if the sensors they use in the malls to check our temperature, because some of the sensors you have to put your hand, some of the sensors it just scans you. So I think those sensors can be also used to collect some useful data in the decisions, how many are the number of shoppers in the mall, how many of them are sick. I guess it can be used also to do that.
100%, 100%. Yeah. Just last week, I had a discussion with somebody saying, why we don't do that? Yeah, we have the data, but the data is segregated in every single location. We just need to have a centralized system, interconnect those locations all together, get the data, process them, then you can have a real live data about what is going on the city.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Turkey. We are just still waiting for more questions to come. I don't know, Ghadir, from your side, is there any more questions?
I think I'm not receiving any. I think that was the last question.
So shall we close this, or is it just coming slowly?
Right.
No more questions. I think that was the last question. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this very interesting session, join me please to thank Mr. Turki for his informative session on IoT implementation and security. And kindly be reminded that today's session will be available on ETC Talks channel. Thank you one more time, Mr. Turki. Thank you, Tagreed. Have a nice time and great weekend.
Thank you, guys. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thanks.
lovely
Bye-bye.
weekend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.